Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the town board meeting for August 27, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. As always, we are remote and virtual. So we've got Councilor Nixon joining us remotely tonight. If you're interested in joining via Zoom, the instructions at the top of each of our agenda. And we are streaming to Facebook and to YouTube as well. So next up, I would like to ask Councilor Neshi to please lead the pledge.
For the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we've got some people signed up for open podium. So first up is Craig Dudzik.
So, hi, nice to see you all. Aloha. Welcome back. It's difficult to frame comments before this board sometimes that are critical yet constructive at the same time. And as you've observed recently, much commentary has been critical for lack of timely communication. Sadly, I add my voice to the criticism, hopefully offer some solutions. These reflect specifically the Quarry Commission. When the board authorized the reinstitution of the Quarry Commission, it was intended that the commission would serve as a vehicle to, quote, provide oversight of quarrying operations in the town of Manlius, collect and monitor citizen complaints, respond to citizen inquiries, monitor and collect data on air quality and seismic vibration associated with quarrying activity, and make periodic reports to the Manlius Town Board. The reports come from the preamble to the, as of yet pending, bylaws. So far, there have been 4 air quality monitors that have been set up and operating around the periphery of the Kinsella Quarry. One just this last week opened. They operate 24/7 and can be monitored on the purpleair.com website by any interested party. By the way, there are now 8 in the greater Syracuse metro area, so you have a reference to see what air quality looks like both in the immediate vicinity of the quarry as well as other locations, ones in Manlius and others in Sedgwick, Southwood, and so on. And by the way, I brought visual aids if you'd like the map to see where they're located. The seismic monitor, which is funded by a grant from the county and through the effort of the boards has been scheduled, is going to be installed tomorrow. And this will provide a semi-permanent reference point that will confirm what is now a temporary use of a monitor whenever blasting occurs. So far this year, there has been none. I don't know if Tom Kinsella is going to be able to do any before the end of the season with the expansion of the footprint, but it will provide that independent confirmation. So what's the problem? In the famous words of Strother Martin, to Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke, what we've got here is a failure to communicate. Communication is ubiquitous. It means different things in different contexts. Let me indicate several contexts where the failure of communication is occurring. One is public notification of quarry meetings, commission meetings. It's a public body and hence should be accessible to the public. However, there's no location for the public to find when and where meetings occur. There was supposed to be one yesterday. Something comparable to the town board, planning board, etc., would be the obvious remedy. Have notifications for all of those bodies. There's no agenda provided in a timely manner. At best, an agenda is provided at the beginning of a meeting. At worst, none is provided. Preparation by meeting by members is constrained by their absence. Additionally, the public needs to know what will be discussed. Third, There are no minutes or records maintained. For commission members, requests have been made for records from the previous quarry committee, which suspended its operations in 2016. For the general public, the general access to records should be a component of open meetings. To get a website comparable to other town boards seems to be the logical solution. 4, last minute changes in meeting schedules are poorly communicated. An email 2 hours before a scheduled meeting is inadequate. There was one scheduled yesterday. At about 4:20, a notice came out. At about 5 o'clock, I saw it. I called other commission members who had not seen it. I also called people whom I had informed of the meeting and let them know. They wouldn't have been informed otherwise, whether they be outside the door or looking for a website. That is an inadequate way of dealing with changes. Some better protocol notification needs to be implemented. The reinstitution of the Quarry Commission was the result of an agreement involving the town of Manlius, Kinsella Quarries, and the Changing Seasons neighborhood, which was meant to provide a collaborative mechanism for resolving public concerns about quarry operations. I think that's an aspirational goal that we all would like to see happen. Better communication on several levels is needed to make the communication function for the betterment of the community. It ought not be treated like a stepchild. So I respectfully request that some of those things that I've suggested, and perhaps there are other things that you have in mind, would better make it a public operating body, as opposed to one that now operates in the dark.
So one of the
Thank you.
things definitely to address that is we did create a secretary position for the quarry, and that's gotta happen, and we've gotta find a way to fund that. So that'll be one of the big changes to addressing all that.
Let me give these to you. By the way, one of the things that is publicly not available, but should be, is a record of 6 sites that have been monitoring over the last 2.5 months that shows what the comparative levels of AQI measurements are. And I'll leave these with Gary on the remarks, and then pictures, so you can go and visit them at your leisure. Thank you.
Who's up installing the monitoring system?
Vibratech. Vibratech is out of Pennsylvania, 10:30 or so tomorrow morning. You're welcome to come. We'll have hot dog. No,
You know what time you're doing it at?
about 10:30. I mean, I don't know if it'll take him a little longer to drive up, but tomorrow's weather looks like it should be good for that happening. So you're welcome.
Yeah,
So,
I'll email you.
Next up, we have Cheryl Matt regarding the Burdick corridor.
Cheryl Matt, Fayetteville. Just a couple comments. This was part of the agenda. A lot of people didn't see it. I was talking to some of my friends and they didn't see this link on here. And a lot of little bitty print, but I'm one of those that likes to look at the little bitty print. On this particular timeline of this Burdick Street strategic planning document, it says they commend the town of Manlius for the momentum it has built through its economic development committee. So I went to the town website. I don't see such a committee. So is there anybody else on that committee? But I think Caitlin, because I've heard through rumors that you've been doing economic development. Is there a committee that people are on, that the public are involved with? Or is this just something that you guys are doing on your own? Okay, that's my first comment. I think as I said last week when I spoke, or 2 weeks ago, the public deserves to know this.
I've had a couple.
Craig is right, excuse me, let me finish.
Oh, I thought
Craig
you
is
asked a
right.
question. so I was just
Communication,
trying to-
no question, I'm just gonna make comments. Communication is not good. Part of communication also is watching your speaker when they speak. He spoke, one of you was on your phone, one's on the computer, no one's looking up at him except Ingrid and William. Show some respect.
I was taking.
We don't wanna be here any more than
Cheryl, I was taking notes on my.
That's fine. I'm just making a comment and observation. The other thing I noticed was on this particular page, they talk about the vision. And they talk about the properties along this Burdick Street. And I'm familiar with it. I've lived here over 30 years. You've got the Y, you've got Core, you've got your new Twin Ponds. And they're talking about looking at what they've already got in place. So if our taxpayers are going to fund another study on Burdick Street, I know another one had been done already, at $50,000. These particular public entities are probably gonna be the benefit of it. The only thing that might help the town get are a few sidewalks, because you don't own property here. Are they gonna kick in for this cost or what? It's just a suggestion. The other thing I noticed in talking about targeted redevelopment. Core mentions a couple projects as they put in the works. One of them was a multi-unit housing complex in the parking lot of the Stickley store, because it's not being used. So obviously they've got plans. And obviously, you know, this company that's doing the study knows about these plans. I'm sure the town does too. But I think there needs to be a little more communication. That's it.
Thank you.
Just like to share with you, Cheryl, that I went door to door to pretty much every business in the village of Manlius to share the economic development committee meetings we were having. Had plans to do it in Fayetteville with the mayor, but he wasn't able to do so the next day. It was advertised, all of our social media flyers were put up. Our planning and development office went to every business in the town of Manlius that we could think of and shared that those economic development committee meetings were happening. We had standing room only, we had to keep getting more chairs. There were 2 meetings earlier in the summer. So I don't know what more I could have done, frankly.
A lot of people didn't know they were through. And how come the committee is not listed on the town website?
Because we're in the process of building it, I emailed everyone that
It sounds
came.
like they're all.
Hold on, let me finish. Please let me finish. I emailed everyone who came to those meetings or expressed interest in those meetings and shared a Google form letting them know if they were interested in joining the committee, they could fill out the Google form. And then in September, I would get back to them with setting meeting dates. So I'm doing the very best that I can.
So obviously you're doing it all.
Mike Nesci is my second.
Okay.
On the committee.
Something is commending your work. So obviously something's been done to get their attention. That's it.
We need to have these meetings to kind of identify who we want to be on. From our business sector on a committee, and then go out after that and try to find residents to also participate on that as well. So I was unfortunately out of town for business, and a lot of those meetings fell on Caitlin, but I heard the feedback was like tremendously positive. And I think it got us going in a direction, you know, that'll be good for the town in the future. But I wanted to ask a comment on 2 things. One, which document were you talking about had small writing? And 2, before you answer that, so I'm usually looking at my computer, and if Mr. Dunstak was referring to the committee, I was looking for something that referenced where we're keeping the items on the website.
No, I understand that, but I've been to these meetings. And the majority of you, when the speaker's up there, you're not looking at them. A lot of them.
Well, if you're looking down in writing,
I'm just saying,
yeah,
okay?
you want to get notes so that you can look into
I
things for
understand.
people, but
I'm sure. The page they had this small writing was this,
is that in the bargain with Judas?
Yep. section 2, page 7. It's right at the top, it says timeline. And it's super small. It's the first page, the first sentence. Oops.
Hey, next up, Maddie Denton, budget in town hall.
Yeah, I have a Matthew Denton, town of Manlius resident. Couple of different items I wanted to kind of quickly touch on. Some are from the earlier, the budget meeting. The highway department presented earlier, but I did not see mention of the highway garage improvements. I know we've confirmed a bond resolution for up to $5 million. Is that going to be part of next year's budget, or is that going on the following year's budget as far as when we start payments?
We would be paying interest in next year's budget. And we would be paying.
Is that being included into their department, or is that being included in a different fund?
It might have.
it's a capital project that is not really part of the operational budget.
Great, thank you. The second item related to the budget is that we have a item number 11, set the local law hearing, public hearing for the property tax cap override. I know that's seen as kind of just a business as usual, let's just approve it and move on with the budget, but we've seen 10% increases in the tax, in the property level levy each year. It'd be really nice to kind of see that at zero, if at all possible. So I would recommend, just my personal opinion on this is that let's not do the override. Let's actually do the hard work of getting that budget within close to zero as possible. So that's just my thoughts on that. The other item is that this is more for how the budget is presented this year. We still have benefits, but benefits all grouped into one. It'd be great to kind of see that split to departments so we can see the true cost of every department. There's IT costs that are per department that are still in the general one. Those benefits are all bundled into one thing. Let's split that up. We know how they go to departments. So let's see them split two departments so we can actually have public know here's the cost, true cost for every department, and not just general stuff and then the departments are accurate, because that does have a couple $1 million adjustments on some on one of them at least. The last item, I don't know if it's less than 2 more items. On the Economic Development Committee, and I just want to make one specific comment on that, is I know you went to the businesses, but I don't think the residents were invited to that. And I know it's very specific, you have town governments and businesses. But if we are forming a economic development committee, it can't just be businesses and governments, it needs to be residents. And I know some of the businesses are also residents, but you need to make sure it has a diverse selection of people, and that can mean different things, but I just want to make sure that that's included.
That specific meeting.
Yeah.
Was about grants that businesses could apply for, so I targeted them specifically, but residents who are invited to attend and are obviously welcome to apply to be on.
Okay, well, and so I just want to make that note, like, so as you go forward, like to try and form that, you might have to do a general call in a town board meeting or something to actually put that out there. This is the first time I've heard that the actual committee is forming.
Yeah, it's what we're doing now is similarly to what we talked about at the meeting for the potential new town hall project. Like the committee's gonna get together and we're gonna decide the committee, the people who express interest, so that we can decide, are there gonna be subcommittees? Like, what are the different focus areas? How often do we wanna meet? Like the kind of work out the details. And then there'll be a review process and an open application process. So we're trying to work out the details of what, because I don't wanna just form a committee and have people come, like I wanna do it the right way. So
Yep.
We're working out the logistical elements of it. So that, like Olson, when I ran into him right before I left for my trip, he said, do you want me on that committee? I said, probably, but we're still working out like what is that actually gonna entail, maybe a subcommittee, so those things are all being fleshed out right now.
Okay, great. And then the final item is number 13 on the agenda, discussion of the updated town facilities. I did briefly go through that, and I know we'll talk more about it, but there was an item in there about additional professional services. And I would just like to make the recommendation that we don't spend any more money there until we actually start having the formation of the committee and discussions going through the 20 years worth of data that we already have as a committee before we actually then pour any more money into this. So I just want to say that let's stop spending money on it, stop professional services. We have town board members, we have staff, residents are interested in this, so let's do that work without spending additional money. So, thank you.
Last up, Dave Marnell.
Thank you. Dave Marno, Katie Lane, Bayville. I came back because the last meeting or meeting before I had asked for information about VFW structures, never received that.
Oh, okay, my apologies, yeah.
Okay, well, when can I get it?
Karen, can we talk tomorrow?
You want to email, is it easier to email it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
You want me to give you my email?
yes, please.
It's D, want me to give it to her now?
Yeah.
It's D Marnell at twcny.rr.com.
You're one of those OG legacy.
Yeah,
owner
right,
emails.
yeah. And also the other question, it's just a comment, I just was wondering how the board felt.
today when you heard about the shooting in Minneapolis at the Catholic school. Since we didn't supply police at our parochial school here, I was just curious. How
It
did
did
you
cross my
feel?
mind when I saw that headline.
So I'm asking, how did everybody feel?
Yeah, not good for sure.
Okay, just wanted to find out. Thanks.
Okay, show of hands, anyone else? Anybody joining us remotely, with the raise hand function? So first up, on the agenda. Chief, would you talk to us a little bit about the civilian community service officer role?
Sure, so, thank you. This was, CSO, Community Service Officer, has been a staple in the town of Manlius Police Department for a number of years. It has gone from part-time to full-time, depending on people, situations, opportunities. And as we've moved and found people that would better fit in different areas, we've moved and put them in those areas. The idea of attracting a part-time community service officer was one in which that we wanted to be able to identify things in which that we could perform that were not necessary for sworn members to do, and use our sworn members for the things in which are necessary for them to do. And the assistance of that CSO to do not only community service and connections, but a whole number of different things on the interior of the police department, to include FOIL redaction, you know, a number of things in which that have become more and more and more impactful to a small organization that we must comply with. As we look forward, a part of the discussion that I had, and I think if you look back, was when we looked at starting with a part-time CSO, was the eventuality, if we were able to get there, and if we were able to identify that right person, and if it worked, to consider the opportunity to bring that person in full-time if it was necessary. So we started that journey. It was nice that last year, even though it was last year at the latter part of the year after September, we were able to attract a candidate part-time after some different interviews. And she has done a phenomenal job. I think maybe that you've met Gabrielle and at different functions. She is really taken to the organization. And what I think is most important is that when we look for people, we look for folks that can contribute to the culture of the organization, of really truly of all of us reaching our best, because only in our best can we serve in our best form. She's excited, she's knowledgeable, she wants to learn, and she's been a great addition, and it has met and exceeded those expectations. So we started looking at capabilities. So does she have some additional capabilities that we can start using? And yes, there's a number of things. But not only that, we have two front office personnel that are in charge of a significant amount of responsibilities. When one is not here, as in this last week, we have impact. We need to have backup, and we've been training her. And actually, she was working in the front office today also to assist, because we had one that was not there. At the same time, we have a very skilled administrative clerk that has made it very clear of her intentions in the future to separate and retire. So we're looking at opportunities now to bring on the CSO to a full-time position, be able to utilize her for a number of different skills, cross-train in different situations, and then be a little bit deeper on the bench so that we can absorb losses or additional responsibilities. I've done the calculations. I've looked at the impact to budget. It's just a little bit over $4,000 until the rest of the year. I can absorb that in my current budget, not asking for anything more. What I am asking for is that position. And then I'm also, based on your decision today, so far, I placed it in my budget for next year. But if that was something in which you did not feel was appropriate, then of course, I'll really re-examine that. But right now I am looking to do that in 2026 because it's been successful, because we have the right person.
Yeah, Chief, thank you very much for that. I sent this request around to the board last week for review, so everybody should have taken a good look at it. But as you articulated, it's really a question of good timing, necessity for it as the department continues to accentuate and lean into its community service or, orientation. And then having the right person performing with, in this fulfilling the ultimate goal of returning it to a full-time position. And not for nothing to mention that the individual serving in the position right now is highly ranked on the civil service list right now. She's number 2, I believe. So I think it just makes really, really great sense. Does anybody have any other questions for Chief or I about this?
How will it impact the budget going forward? Like, what will the new annual salary be?
Yeah, it's pretty negligible. It's an hourly position, and as Jason said, it's about 4,000 for the rest of fiscal year 25.
Yeah, the current salary is $19.60 an hour. I wasn't gonna change that for the rest of 2025. And then based on discussions with the board and as our budget goes forward, I'm sure that's a further discussion on what you want to see.
There's an aspect of this that's really about retaining good people. I mean, we want to retain this person. It's sort of a unicorn position, and we're very lucky to have so many skills housed in one person.
William, you want to make a motion to approve adjusting the civilian community service officer role of the town of Manlius Police Department from a part-time to a full-time position.
Well, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, okay, motion carries, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Sarah, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the award for Bird Tree?
So we have wrote a grant last year to get funding to look at a planning study for our busiest intersection, the Genesee First Street intersection, and possibilities for better walkability and infill development along those 2 areas. Particularly around the DeWitt line to the Fayetteville line to the canal. And then if feasible beyond the canal to Tuna, so that's sort of the area that we go. And so we got funding, we issued an RFP, we got several responses to the RFP, we did a process of interviewing with Councilor Meshi to figure out what candidates were the best. There were a lot of good candidates, and it was actually a tough decision. But we are bringing forward today our proposal, which is the proposal that is for their main proposal, and then a letter addendum as well that adds some additional services regarding more of a financial element to it. So the 2 together are the proposal we're bringing to you this evening.
Which one? There was 50 and 80. Which one are you talking about?
80,000 total. The grant we received is for 100,000.
Any other questions?
The process for this, Sarah, are you going to be involved in the burning spree? Like, are you gonna be, like, are there gonna be meetings? Is it, like, are they gonna do it and come back?
The proposal includes a couple of open houses with the community, as well as some dialogue amongst the town and the businesses and residents along the way, and the village of Fayetteville, since part of that is the village.
Are there gonna be like committee meetings of any kind?
Not really, it's designed more as those open houses for generic, for community input, and then a lot of stuff, like there's actually analysis, there's like economic analysis. A lot of it's sort of more desk work than construction.
I know that Core was interested. I talked to Steve Aiello and he asked that once this gets going, he wanted to like be on the committee.
It would definitely be.
I'm sure that they will, but I was curious if there was going to be on any comments on like outside of those public meetings, will there be, I'm assuming there'll be like direct engagement with the stakeholders there separately from those?
In the proposal, in task 2, it outlines a community engagement plan, and that has the 2 open houses that Sarah talked about. And then after the first open house, there should be a steering committee that's developed, and then they'll get the information from the first open house. And then they'll use that to come back and create a discussion for the second open house, which is available to all town residents.
So the steering committee, is that, who's gonna be on that? I would like to be on it, that's why I'm asking, like, I would like to.
Duly noted.
This is like playing Sim City, it's exactly why I wanted to run around business.
There's a motion.
This is, my vote is for budget or not, I'm sorry.
Not really, I mean, it's not,
Well, let me just ask this one question. It's $100,000 grant. The proposal's 80 difference. What are you planning on doing with
There'll
that?
be some legal fees, there'll be some other processing fees, that
They're
we,
gonna use it.
so at the time with you.
Thank you.
So I would like to make a motion to accept the proposal, and we'll do this for the Virgin Genesee Street Corridor planning in the amount of $85,000.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And Tracy.
Supervisor.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for selecting us and as the owner, one of the owners at the firm who signed the proposal, I'll take the responsibility for the smaller font schedule.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And there will be a hefty public outreach engagement piece to this beyond the stakeholder meetings that we're gonna have. We're gonna host a social pinpoint website for all the documents beyond the statesman. Thank you.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a
Like,
big,
most
that was a big piece that really.
really interactive.
Yeah.
It's like, we've been looking for something like that for so long, we tried something like that, and to just see it, and be like, oh, this is exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, we wanted something like that for a long time, so we might steal that. from
Yeah.
her.
Great, thank you.
Can you make sure I'm on that steering committee?
So next is the National Grid rebate program, the 10 million trees application forms packet. This is just to authorize the co-chair to submit the application for us to participate in that program. Basically, it's just to get money back for us planting trees underneath telephone or electrical utility wires out there. So just to get us money back.
Any questions on that?
But not 10.
No, not 10 million, unfortunately, no, not that much. So. We had a last minute reword. Motion to approve the submission of the application to National Grid 10,000 trees rebate by the Town of Manlius Tree Commission co-chair.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay, motion carries. And then so the first, public hearing we're gonna set, so, I'm sure some of our councilors are aware of the conversation that's happening over at Fremont Meadows. We've got the situation in a bunch of different developments around town where they were built with an HOA in mind, or the HOA has gone away. Where we have these, dividers at the opening to the neighborhood. And we're in this kind of weird position where the town takes care of it to the best of our abilities, but it's not technically town property, it's not town infrastructure. And so, in the past, the highway department has done some improvements or trimmed trees, or removed trees, things like that to meet their needs. And in this instance, the folks over in Fremont Meadows, they actually gathered a ton of signatures. The ask is to remove the bushes that are there, while they're not an actual, like driver safety issue. We've heard from a lot of folks that when you're running or walking through the area, that it causes some visibility concerns. And then we also had some folks reach out about not wanting us to do it. And so in this situation, what we want to do, or what I'd like to be able to do, is give the highway department direction from us to say, hey, do this, as opposed to however they would otherwise do it. If it was up to us, we would remove it and pave it, because it just doesn't serve a function. But the neighbors are looking there's a letter on the agenda, they're looking to maintain it themselves, take care of it. And it's one of those times where I just wanted to make sure, we've heard before about like stop signs and stuff. Everybody from the community comes in and says, we want this. 10 years later, 15 years later, there's brand new people and they say, we don't want it. So this is just an opportunity created on the public record that if we hold a public hearing, we have signatures, we'll have other people come in and tell us what they'd like to see happen. And then we can make a decision and direct the highway department to do exactly that.
So who actually owns this very small little piece of property?
I mean,
It's assumed it's the developer,
yeah,
but, and there was covenants, Ingrid and I, full disclosure, we lived there, well, I was gonna ask you, should we, then when such a vote.
If you attend on participating in the public hearing, maybe, and if do you still currently?
Yeah,
Still live in the neighborhood. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes you door to door.
That's
Yeah.
So the plan would be to, so in the second September meeting, and I talked with the member of the neighborhood this just yesterday. We put it on the agenda, people can come in and tell us do it or don't do it, then we can make a decision, just in the effort of making sure that the whole neighborhood is aware of it. Any questions?
Does it look that bad?
It's not about that, so when you talk to Rob, it's actually the town has the right to maintain the right of way, so without anybody asking, if the highway department assessed it and said, this is not safe, as people approach, and people are walking where there's currently no sidewalks and makes you very nervous. They could pull those and say, this is obstructing, oncoming traffic view of pedestrians and other vehicles, and they could pull them on their own. But when people were asking, Ingrid and I, we were like, maybe approach the town with the idea and talk to Rob and see what he recommends to do. And then I thought it would be a good idea to poll everyone to see where they were at. And then John had a great idea, make it a public hearing.
Yeah.
Which
So the
is
easiest way for us to do it, actually, get that feedback.
Yeah, and I know that in the letter it references the aesthetics. I think it's less an aesthetic issue and more an issue, especially as you're heading northbound on Burdick, when you make a right into the neighborhood. The trees are now blocking pedestrians and bikes, and there have been a number of near misses, so that's the bigger issue. I can comment that of the 152 signatures, there were 122 yeses for removing them. I got a phone call from one of my neighbors who is adamantly against that, and so, yeah.
Well, that's when I talked with the highway superintendent about it, I said, let us figure out what to do and we'll take care of it, so I appreciate the willingness to work together.
Has it been made clear what they're gonna do after if things were moved out?
That's chatter in the Facebook group currently. There are plans to plant lower growth plants as opposed to tall shrubs and trees. Tree law.
Is this officially in the right of way? Oh, yeah,
Yes,
I'm gonna ask, can you check tree keeper and see if we have any counts or anything of what's going on with that stuff, of what's there? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Great. Right, so I just look for a motion to schedule a date. And we pushed it out to the end of September, so there's time for everybody to get into it, but
I'll make a motion to set a date for a public hearing to discuss the entry for Fremont Meadows on September 24th at 6:30. I'll second.
okay, all those in favor,
Aye.
all those opposed, all those abstaining? Thank you. So we will have that conversation on September 20th. Okay, so next up, we've got setting date for a bunch of our budgetary stuff, so just to go over quick. The Fayetteville Fire public hearing, Manoa Fire, Manlius Fire, tax cap override, and the preliminary budget. So I think we've got motion.
So I'll make a motion first for the Fayetteville Fire Department, motion to set the date for the public hearing regarding entering into a contract with the Village of Fayetteville to provide enlisted fire services to the Fayetteville Fire Protection District. And that would be on October 8th of this year at 6:31 p.m.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Then there's a motion to set a date for a public hearing regarding entering into a contract with the Village of Manoa to provide ambulance and fire services to the Manoa Fire Protection District on October 8th this year at 6:33 p.m.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And one last motion to set a date for public hearing regarding entering into contract with the Village of Manlius to provide ambulance and fire services to the Manlius Fire Protection District. Same date, October 8th of this year at 6:34 p.m. Will that give Manoa enough time to?
Maybe my name is 6:35.
We should do, yeah.
6:35.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Two more.
Motion to set a date for a public hearing regarding a proposed local law overriding the property tax cap in the town of Manlius for fiscal year 2026 on October 22nd, 2025 at 6:35, 7 p.m. 6:35 p.m. Sorry.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Motion to set a date for a public hearing regarding the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2025 on November 5th, 2025 at 6:35.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Then, so next up, you're gonna do the presentation? Yeah. Perfect. So we have a presentation, kind of the feedback of the last month of conversations we've had about the, tops.
So Carrie's pulling that up. Yeah, anyone.
I may have that. Scroll down, be ready.
So this is a framework for the town facility project. So based on feedback from the public, we want to have a more open and transparent process, engaging all stakeholders. So the idea behind this framework is a roadmap from a high level look at the steps that we'd like to take going forward. So soon as we figure out the technical piece.
Hang on.
I'll just call it, okay. So we want to ensure that everyone knows that we're referring to both this town hall and also the police department when we talk about facilities in need of attention. Many of you know the services that are provided out of town hall, but if you don't, it incorporates the town clerk's office, the assessment office, the receiver of taxes, the rec department, planning and development, the town supervisor's office, the town manager and deputy town manager's office, which also is the umbrella for HR, the controller, and the town court. So all of that would be covered under this process. So. So the goal here is to address the concerns with the existing facility. The safety, the mechanical, and the operational challenges that staff working in these buildings face on a day-to-day basis. And the idea behind it is to do this more collaboratively. We are hearing repeatedly that there is not enough communication. We hear you, and we want to put a process in place to make that better. And the idea is also to say, not that the solution is a new building, but we have a problem at the police department, we have a problem in this facility. We are fortunate to have a very highly educated, smart community of people with specialized skills. So we want to tap into those skills and have people problem solve with us and come up with solutions. In order to do that, we want to hire a project manager / public engagement consultant. That person would be an expert on facilitating town halls, ensuring that all the details are tracked, that we stick to a time frame, that all of the pieces are accounted for, and that the accountabilities, the governance aspect of this is clearly defined going forward. The Town Facility Advisory Committee, which you've heard about and we've gotten recommendations about, would consist of people from across the community, people with specialized skills. It would include a couple of board members, a couple of staff members. And it's that group that would look at the history of documents that already exist. Decide whether any new studies are needed, depending upon what they find. And then they would make recommendations from there. So the key points are collaboration, the idea of town halls or charrette, which has been suggested by one of our former town councilors. Bringing us through a process in an organized way and making more communication transparent and easy to find. We have struggled with that. So one of the things that my colleague, we'll go to the next one, Councilor Priestel did, was to host a public meeting and invite feedback on how can we reach all of you in a better way. So I'll ask her to talk about the feedback that was received.
Happy to do it, and we have a couple people here who were at that meeting as well, so they can certainly chime in if I missed anything major. So on the communications piece, the need for broader outreach was made very clear and like hit home again and again and again, was that we cannot rely on social media or the website. That is simply not sufficient. And that postcards a couple times a year, not necessarily a quarterly newsletter, but postcards for major announcements. An example that I thought of after that meeting was when we did the trash cans and recycling bins. Would have probably been a good time for something major where it's gonna reach everyone, and to make sure that they're aware, or at least we've made every attempt. I shared that the cost might be extensive and that the folks who attended thought it was well worth the price. So that was something that they were really encouraging us to do. They do want the printed newsletter as well. And we've shared that is available at key locations. But they wanted that to be expanded and potentially mailed depending on cost. Utilizing the village digital signs, post office bulletin boards, and local businesses like Tops to post announcements, leave the newsletters where people are often going. And one of the pieces of feedback that we got was on these notices and in the postcards and everything else, that we were to do those, and on the website, on social media, to share the meetings are open to the public. A lot of people didn't know they could attend meetings. They thought that they were closed. So I thought that was a good suggestion. And then developing a strategic partnership with the Eagle Bulletin, especially in advance of the meetings, rather than them giving a rundown of what happened at the meeting, working with them to make the agendas available. And also putting your minutes on the website, and sharing them in the Eagle Bulletin, but not in minutes form, but translated, more conversational language, because the minutes can be difficult to kind of figure out what happened.
Yeah, like a Q&A format, questions people have, or answers is something that I've been hearing about.
Okay, yeah, something that is more digestible. And then there's a ton of feedback, all and ideas on how to structure the committee and how to key focus areas. But I think that's outside the scope of your presentation today, so I'll leave those for another time.
All right, sounds good. So last slide. So additional steps that would follow securing the project manager / public engagement specialist would be the analysis, the communication steps, sharing the findings with the public, and making a recommendation to the board for here's what we think is the best potential solution for review. So other comments, questions?
I'll make a comment, share some information, meeting with the clerk's office to see what immediate issues need attention. you know, it's not just that you meet with the clerk, but they share space with the planning board or the planning department and codes. And it's very abundantly apparent that, you know, space is at a premium here. And we go so far to say that we have run out of space. We will absorb, as we heard today, from one of our justices, court responsibility for the village of Manoa. And along with that will come some documents that we have to maintain in perpetuity. And wondering where we're going to store that stuff is a concern. But what we're trying to do is meet with all the departments and the employees and identify these things and triage them and address them in the current building. Because whether this committee recommends to the board at a certain point that a new facility, to build a new facility is appropriate. We still have to ensure that they have a safe and accommodating environment to work in. And that even if that is to occur, it's gonna take time to build that, so we wanna make sure that we address those concerns as soon as possible and, you know, within reason. And I do wanna acknowledge that the CIP did the study and analysis of this building. So we have a good idea from an engineering standpoint of things that have to occur, and some things already are in process, such as fixing the roof. And then just that we stay in constant communication, contact with the contractors that we award the bids to, and to make sure that they continually are reassessing their work, and that they do understand completely the scope, so that we don't use the tax dollars to fix something and then still have a continuous problem that will wreak havoc on building.
Then you would fire it.
What's that?
The guy, the contractor.
Well, we want to not get in that situation. Yes, we don't want that to happen, so we want to keep open and continuous communication to review these projects before we go up and fix it. Then the next time we see him is when he wants to pick up the check. So, which we think that is. Well, but we don't want to get to that situation. We want to monitor and make sure that our things are happening, but this.
So, last question. So as we're moving forward with this, right, have you or will you put together a prioritized list of requirements, including some categorization of what is required by law, right, for consideration in whatever decision you make?
So the renovation study that I presented to the board back in December has that list. It's not currently prioritized. It's an extensive list of all the deficiencies where there's certain compliance issues and things like that. And that's, as we're working on this year's budget, we're working through that to prioritize that and understand what projects to tackle first for the best benefit for our employees. And
is that a document that's available?
Yeah.
And I think Supervisor, the report that was done on this building did have like a simple coding of the sort of red, yellow, green of things that needed to be attention more strongly. So there is guidance for what to fix.
Red, yellow.
The urgency types of rating, yeah, we have to look at it again and tell you what red, I believe, was the highest and green was the lowest priority.
And that was determined by
the engineers who, this was like for the things like the heating system.
Sure, that makes sense.
So there was, this is old, but it works, this is old and you got this.
Right, otherwise you would be out of compliance with that.
So I just want to address Mr. Denton's comment regarding another consultant. I think this is not another study. I believe what Councilor McCurdy wants to do is have a facilitator. And I think our experience over this summer has demonstrated that a facilitator would be helpful.
Right.
So I do believe that that is not a waste of resources to pilot.
If I could, I'd like to just sort of add that the Intermunicipal Police Committee is going to be taking this on as a specific agenda to act and its function as a conduit for village administrations to articulate their view of what an appropriate what the appropriate needs of a police facility should be for the public safety of village residents. And we'd like to be working on that simultaneously and separate from this. upfront rather than after another process that the town has taken on to facilitate a study and a discussion about what the town might need. So this is going to be happening simultaneously.
Thank you, Councilor Nicholson, for adding that.
And does that, so also included, there be a return, an ROI, return on investment analysis as well too?
We had that conversation, and I mentioned it to a couple other councilors and the supervisor that we have discussed that in other meetings, but we don't have one document that includes all of that information, and we are gonna be working on gathering that information down.
So wonderful, thank you.
Great. Anything else? Thank you very much. Next up.
I actually have one question. A couple of people from the meeting that we had a few weeks ago have reached out and would like an update, and I would like to get back to them. What is it that I can tell them about where we are in the process?
So our next step, the supervisor and I spoke a few minutes ago about an RFP process that would clearly define what we're looking for from this individual, X number of town halls, what we're looking to accomplish. So that's our critical next step, and the subsequent steps would happen in collaboration with that facilitator once they're done.
Okay, so share with them that we're going to be working on an RFP, and can their feedback from that meeting be included in the writing of the RFP? Because there were a lot of great ideas in that meeting about what we should be looking for from whoever this agency might be. Yes. Matthew had some suggestions during the meeting specifically that that before we release the RFP, that there is like a starting point before that where we should be thinking about what we really need before we even, what we put in the RFP is gonna already start chart path. So I think having that conversation transparently will be important, because I think we've lost a lot of faith from certain people in the community and perhaps trust. So making sure that we're transparent about what we're even considering to put in the RFP.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I'm wondering if we can do a work session around talking about what we're looking for in this.
What I think
That
would
makes sense.
probably make the most sense is once we've got like a working draft of the RFP, let's put it on an agenda for presentation, and we'll do a work session 2 weeks later, and
That's probably the best idea,
Yeah.
rather than just starting from nothing, and that would just be way too long.
And
So there'll be a framework.
Yeah.
and then maybe what we do is instead of trying to do it at 5 o'clock before a meeting, maybe we just pick a different day, do it at like 6, so that the folks that weren't able to go to all these meetings actually have an opportunity to weigh in.
Would that be what you had suggested?
Yeah, I think it's very important before we go and actually say again, here's what it's looking for, and then really say.
Great.
Well, if you'd like to also update that with, I mean, prior to all that, I mean, next week, the Intermunicipal Police Committee begins this process of collecting data from the village administrations on what they would be looking for in a new facility and what their vision and view of an approach, you know, what would be in the best interests of their constituents. So that starts next week.
Okay, and those meetings are open, William?
They are live streamed, yeah.
Okay, so I'll make sure that I share that with the informal group that we had, if they choose to participate in that component of it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, because obviously there's special considerations around safety, et cetera, for the police that are very specific, so.
And we'd like to know what those concerns are before, you know, galloping off with a separate other process. So I'm very eager to get this input from the villages first, or early.
Yeah, and then whatever it is that comes out of that meeting can be included in the RFP process as well.
Dave's turn.
That's just a quick question. I want to make sure I understand this. So you're going to draft an RFP to submit to get a, I'm a little confused there.
To identify the project manager, public facilitator, someone who's gonna help us through the process of communicating to the public, analyzing, coming
Then
up.
collect that data.
Yeah,
bring it together,
exactly.
bring it. Okay.
Exactly, and so we'll present a preliminary draft of an RFP at a meeting, then 2 weeks or so later, we'll have a work
I
session.
understand. Thank you for clarifying.
Am I missing anything, folks who were at that meeting? Was that?
I don't think so. Is there a price cost to that or that or?
Oh, yeah.
The RF,
No.
do you mean like is there a cost?
On a higher.
Is it,
Tell
what's
us how
the
that-
estimate of cost though?
Like, so we put out the RFP, what is the estimate, what we think people will come back with? Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I
you're
guess we
gonna get
would-
a person, I guess
we
I'm
would-
trying to understand, you're trying to get a person to facilitate all of this.
Yes.
Instead of you guys, because it's kind of hard to hear with all these people, you're just trying to find one person to facilitate all this.
And then be independent of us, so that will be helpful.
An independent person.
neutral.
It's interesting how you said, and it's true, how smart our community is. I think if people knew who kind of did this for a living, they wouldn't, they would have a lot of input on all of this, right? You don't have to pay for it. All I hear is how much everything is.
That's
There's
something-
so many smart people around. You could probably ask somebody who might do this for a living, maybe they're retired, and would be happy to help you. That type of thing. It's always that there's something when the committees are outstanding.
So I'm not sure if it's fair to ask someone to work for months. This could be a 12 to 18 month
Well, I'm not
process.
saying you're,
Great.
I'm just saying you're asking if he's retired, there's a lot of people who might be happy to do it or be in on it, somehow.
Yeah,
And a lot of people like to be needed, also
Yeah.
like to be asked.
That's the idea for that committee, is to
Okay.
have those folks part of the
Right.
conversation.
But then Caitlin was saying, how do you reach these people? So there's all this other.
Yeah, so that was
There's-
another concern that people
Right,
had
that's a
expressed.
big deal,
Within
that's.
school news.
Right, so, I think I could clarify that more too, thank you for reminding me, so. The opportunity to be on this committee, how are we even gonna share that with people? That was the concern, like
Well, how, it's funny, because it's hard, but when people we've never been to these meetings before, it's very interesting to me to come here. Are people, they figure, oh, we voted or didn't vote, whatever, then you're supposed to do this, so they don't come, well, busy, right? So we're coming, we're retired now, we're coming, we're seeing how this all works. The whole process is interesting, lots of things and talking about stuff.
You gotta watch
Had you-
Parks and Rec, you'll get a.
But had
good
you
rundown of it.
done something like I did to my house, and I don't know, everybody does to their house, maintain this place? Perhaps you wouldn't need to have, right, just like everyone else maintained a house. My house is 103 years old. Maintaining would have helped a bit also, and, all that. And having money to have done something.
Yeah, I think that, well,
I mean, we have a former counselor here that I can direct that question to and ask them why.
Oh, does it end with him or was it before that? I think they said they've been looking at this for years, talking
Yeah,
about.
I think that there are,
So I don't think it was just one person.
I think that one of the elements of this process will be learning from past mistakes, both within this board and in the decades prior. And through the facilitated engagement, through this RFP process and whatever company we hire. Hopefully we can get on the right track with what it means to repair the facilities and maintain them. I think pointing fingers at this point and playing the blame game won't help
I didn't
anyone.
do that. So
Yeah.
you can get a contractor, you can get different contractors in here to give you a free estimate. To tell you how much everything is gonna cost. I'm just trying to, instead of spend, anyone can spend. Takes talent to try to not spend money and try to, keep something out there. You're not have to go before.
So that's just one piece is getting the price, the cost to fixing things. But all of this together is one big project. And somebody who specializes in that is more of an investment in our town.
Yes.
And a responsible expense to our constituents is say, you manage these things, you manage them on such a scale and such a level, and you know how to reach people, like, for instance. BNL is gonna do that study, the sidewalks, they have these mechanisms to reach people in our town, to make it very accessible for them to be heard and to solicit feedback and input for that type of study and that type of project. If that's something that we can find to provide to this town, then we shouldn't have issues with people saying, I didn't know, or I couldn't be there. If you could conveniently submit a letter, or you could conveniently submit an email, or actually just click a button and then something opens up and says, add your comments here, and then we can get that, and this project manager can organize it, present it to the committee, to the board. It'll streamline things and make it efficient, it actually will save us money in the long run.
I also just said to Caitlin, you found us all to give us our tax bill, so you did find us all. All of us.
Yeah,
As for the.
We did discuss this in the meeting, that the tax bills go to the owners of the property, and that, so for a lot of renters or
They
apartments.
don't pay taxes.
They don't pay, we don't care about renters, you had said something about renters.
Well, they're, but
They can vote.
they are still
Well,
residents,
that's a you thing, that's not a us thing.
they're still
That's a
residents.
you thing, they'll vote for you, they're not voting for me.
Ma'am,
That's
I
a you
can,
thing.
No, it's not about the politics of it, it's that they're allowed to vote, so they have to be by law notified. And if you can't notify you.
As Caitlin said, you'll put it in this place and that place, but to get it to them, to be able to save
Excuse
money
me.
to get to the renters, they don't pay taxes.
So right now, we're getting into a lot of process details, and I think we need to move on. Part of the intent tonight is to outline the high level process and to acknowledge that this is a complex process. The estimate on repairing just this building, which doesn't address the police department, was between $9 and $12 million. So these are not changes that we want to make lightly. So we're gonna move on for tonight. There will continue to be a public process where we'll hear your thoughts and concerns. But we want you to know that we'd like to move forward with this in an organized, facilitated way. All right, next item.
We have, next up, budget addition, some, temporary municipal aid, just gotta add to the budget.
Motion to approve a budget addition for account 8004.3002 TMA aid, 10 municipal aid in the amount of $7,818.
Second.
Opposed? Okay. Next up, well, any announcements, anything that wasn't covered previously before we? Yeah, so,
Announcement.
yeah,
So the age-friendly survey is still on the town website. If you haven't filled it out yet, please do. We're using that feedback to apply for grants through AARP to ensure that we're addressing quality of life issues for older adults. Message me with questions.
Thank you for the motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 13, 2025, as presented by the council.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the abstract number 16 in the amount of $393,673.30. The winner is just trash and brush. It was pretty uninteresting answer.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Any other business?
You have a motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor?